The True Path to Success, told by Rick Rubin. This is an absolutely amazing clip from an amazing podcast. It's 1881 Rick Rubin on the Joe Rogan Experience. If you don't know who Rick Rubin is, he's an absolute juggernaut in music. You can really call him one of the architects of hip hop in general. He's been there since pretty much the beginning, and he's a true example of learning one thing deeply and then seeing the way in all things. He's great. Let's get into it. I'm Coach Colin, coolest high performance coach in the world. You want the best insights to the podcasts and videos you love? Hit subscribe.
And it blew my mind. And I went to California to meet with them. And I actually visited in the studio when they were recording Straight Outta Compton album.
Wow.
Yeah, incredible.
Wow. That's fascinating too, that like this new thing emerges and then people just imitate the pattern of success, like whatever the successful pattern of that music.
Yeah. It wasn't out of artistry. It was out of, oh, this works. Let's do what works.
Yeah. And for someone like you you seem to go on feel a lot, or just like what resonates with you.
That's it. It's all everything I do is just personal taste, and it's what the book's about. Is like really for people to trust, artists to trust in themselves, make something that speaks to themselves, and hopefully someone else will like it. But you can't second guess your own taste for what someone else is going to like. It won't be good.
Right.
You know, we're not smart enough to know what someone else is going to like. You know, to make something. Well, I don't really like it, but I think this group of people like it. It's a bad way to play the game of music or art. You have to do what's personal to you, take it as far as you could go, really push the boundaries, and people will resonate with it if they're supposed to resonate with it, but you can't get there the other way. You know, the other way is a dead-end path.
When artists are not successful yet, though, it's very difficult for them to find who they are, because they're always just trying to figure out what's the path to success, where success seems to be the carrot at the end of the stick. It's like there's always this something, you know, these guys have all this money, these guys have all these cars and these big houses. How do I get that? How do I get success? How do I fill up an arena? How do I become successful?
Yeah.
And so there's this temptation towards imitation.
Yeah, it's a dangerous path, and if you're getting into this business for that outcome, if that's the reason you're doing it, chances are it's not going to work out. I don't
most
think
of the time.
Yeah, that's not what makes it. What makes it great is the personal.
Yeah.
With all of its imperfections, with all of its quirkiness, that's what makes it great. How you see the world, that's different from how everyone else sees the world. That's why you're an artist. That's your purpose in sharing your work with the world.
And that seems to be the case with everything. With literature, it's definitely the case with stand-up comedy.
Everything.
We experience that in stand-up comedy where there's these kind of derivatives.
And look, now he's like meditating, his eyes closed. But the way that I would connect that to life, when they're talking about, you know, you got to do what personal. I've talked about this before. You have to do the things in life that you feel like you're called to do. You know, like how many times, and maybe you're one of these people, how many times have you heard of somebody only doing something because their parents wanted them to? Like the first time I went to college is because my brother told me to. I didn't actually want to go. And then when I went, I flunked out within like 4 or 5 months. Like it wasn't for me. It wasn't even something that I wanted to do. Right? How many times do you see that with children or you know, young adults? They're only in the college program, university program, because their parents told them that's the next step. And they're just doing it because like they're just going through the motions of life. And then it doesn't work out. How many people do you know that have a degree in one thing and they work in a completely different field? You know? How many times have you seen, or maybe you've been this person, how many times have you seen somebody who's a people pleaser? They're just doing things because they want to fit in, or they feel like this is what's going to be accepted by the group, by the tribe, by their loved ones. So they're just they're just doing what they think other people want them to do. And a great thing that Rick said is, we're not smart enough to really know what other people like and to do those things. We're not smart enough to do that. But we have a natural intelligence towards ourselves and what we should be doing in life. You may not exactly, I might ask you, what do you want to do with your life? And you might go, and you may not know. But if you give it enough thought, a natural intelligence will kick in and start to kind of, well, I like this and I like this. And you'll start doing the math in your head. You're like, I like this. I don't like being around people. And I kind of like doing this. I kind of like sitting on, I guess I could work on a team. And I kind of like this work. And I did this before and I don't like, you'll start doing the math. And things will start, like options will start falling away. And eventually you'll land on something that you're like, this is me. And then you'll do that for a while and that'll evolve and you'll be like, this is me. You have this natural intelligence that kind of pushes you toward, maybe you can call it your higher self, you can call it God, but there's always something that kind of pushes you to where you should be, where you're going to feel comfortable, where you're going to experience love, for lack of a more descriptive word. You're going to feel love for whatever you're doing, or excitement, we can even say. But you can't try and do what other people want you to do. I'm sure there's people in my life that want me to do other things. You might be one of them. I want them to do something else. I want them to play the whole podcast. I want them to play this clip. I want them to play 10 minutes longer. No. I do the things that I feel like I'm called to do. And you have to do the things that you feel like you're called to do. And you can't get sucked in. The game of life. Life will suck you in and try to and make you nervous about what it is that you're trying to do or you feel like you're called to do. It'll make you nervous about it, that maybe you're doing the wrong thing. Maybe because you kind of are struggling right now, maybe it's not for you. I really want this thing, but it's not working out. It looks like a long shot. It's like life tries to confuse you sometimes when it comes to what you're really called to do. It's almost like life's trying to make you prove yourself. It's like, yeah, you want that thing? Okay. Here's a couple roadblocks. Oh, did you make it through? Here's a couple more. Oh, you made it through. Okay, here's a pit. Okay, made it out of the pit. All right, here's a hole. You made it out of the hole. Here's a couple more roadblocks. Twice the size as the one before. It's like life keeps doing that until you're in it for the right reasons. And only for the right reasons. And then all of a sudden it's like a door opens and all of a sudden everything makes sense and everything starts clicking and clicking and clicking. My friend Rob, what he calls it is like the snowball effect, right? I don't know if he coined it himself, but like he was like, it's like the snowball. It's like, you're trying to put a snowball up a hill, and as you get further up the hill, the snowball gets bigger, so it gets harder because it gets steeper and steeper and steeper and steeper until you get to a point where you're at the top, and then you push the snowball and all of a sudden it's just rolling and everything makes sense and everything starts clicking and everything starts working out. It's like you got to push that snowball. You got to push it and push it until you're at the top of that mountain, and then everything gets easier. Still struggle, still a little bit of, maneuvering, learning, there's still all that stuff, but it gets way easier. Gets way more fluid. Starts to make sense. So, whatever it is that you feel like you're called to do, you got to go for it. Don't do what somebody else wants you to do. Never do what someone else wants you to do. I'm out.